those sorts of things. A lot of those things you do and the skills you learn are transferable right into the lineman trade. But as far as giving direction to get an lineman apprenticeship, but if you're over 21 or older, that's going to work in your favor big time, because that way you can apply anywhere for the most part, because your CDL is then good across state lines anywhere you go in the country, which is always kind of a big thing that people forget to and can run into. Like I ran into that issue when I became an apprentice lineman. Welcome back to episode 5 of CTQ. CTQ is a segment I do on the channel called Cruise the Questions, where I take your guys' questions that you guys ask me, whether you guys email them or you guys ask me on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube comments. I take your guys' questions and I answer them here using my perspective, my knowledge, my experience to try to further help you guys on your career journeys getting started in a skilled trade. With that being said, you guys can submit your questions by emailing them at austin@bluecollaredu.com is the best way to do it. Or you guys can DM me on Instagram at austin@blue, or you guys can DM me on Instagram at bluecollaredu, or TikTok is bluecollaredu, or if you're watching this video, put them in the comments down below. And that's where I take the questions and then I put them into my portfolio of questions here. And then I'll take 2 or 3 of them and I'll shoot a video. And the cool thing about this segment is that your guys' questions you guys ask me, the reason you're asking them is because obviously you guys have the questions, but there's most likely someone else out there that has a similar question or a question that's probably the same. So trying to help you and probably a few others as well. So with that being said, let's hop into question number 1. Question number 1 comes from a gentleman named Vaden on TikTok. He says, "My name is Vaden Chancellor. I have my Class A CDL, my CPR certification, and I work as a line clearance trimmer for Asplin. I was wondering, is there any way you can kind of give me direction on how to get a lineman apprenticeship job? Whether it be a groundman or apprenticeship, whatever the case being, I would appreciate your time, and I'm sure you're a busy man. I live in Colorado, but willing to travel anywhere as well." Thank you for that great question. Give me any direction on how to get into a lineman apprenticeship. You're saying you're willing to travel anywhere. I will say, are you working as a line clearance trimmer for Asplin as a journeyman, or are you a groundman? I'm just going to assume that you're a journeyman tree trimmer doing power line clearance. If that's the case, you've completed the tree trimming apprenticeship, which is awesome experience. That's what I did before I got into the lineman apprenticeship or into the lineman trade at all, was I did power line tree trimming clearance. And the knowledge and experience I got inside the tree trimming career or trade was excellent related work experience for when I got into the lineman trade. And that being the rigging, the knots, the working outside, next to roads, by power lines, on a crew, working with big trucks, those sorts of things. A lot of those things you do and the skills you learn are transferable right into the lineman trade. But as far as giving direction to getting a lineman apprenticeship, but if you're over 21 or older, that's going to work in your favor big time, because that way you can apply anywhere for the most part, because your CDL is then good across state lines anywhere you go in the country, which is always kind of a big thing that people forget to and can run into. Like I ran into that issue when I became an apprentice lineman. My state, I was in Washington, but my CDL was only good in Washington because I wasn't 21 yet. But the apprenticeship call I got was for a job in Oregon. So I had to go through the whole entire transfer process to transfer my CDL from Washington to Oregon, which was not easy. It actually was a pain in my butt, and I had very limited time to do it. Anyways, I got it figured out. But if you're over 21, you don't got to worry about that. But I will say, a lot of apprenticeships now are requiring you to become a citizen or transfer your license or become a resident of the state you're getting the apprenticeship in. So let's just say Arizona, you want to apply a SWOLCAT, Southwest Lineman training apprenticeship, they want you to be an Arizona resident before you really even apply, from my understanding. Now, if you're in Colorado, I would just suggest start where you're at. Hop on local, IBW Local 111 is going to be the website for Colorado for the most part. That's Denver, and I believe they cover most of Colorado. And they even post their standing calls on their website, so you can see if they have standing calls for groundmen. And if you want to learn a little bit more about that, you can go check out the free course, the free learning on the page at bluecollaredu.com. There's a free learning tab up there. There's a free course where I actually talk about this and how that kind of works, where you can find these standing calls. And if anyway, you can go enroll in that course and take that for free. It's 100% free for you guys to learn how to kind of use that to your guys' advantage. Anyway, that's where I would start. I'd go to 111. I would go sign the books as a groundman there. Be a book 4. Well, if you're an IBW member already, then you can become a book 1 hand. If I don't know if the ASPN you're working for is union or not. But anyways, I would start there. I'd start at 111 in Denver, go sign the books. And then as soon as Mountain States opened up their apprenticeship, I'd apply for that because that's kind of your home area. And depending on where you're at in Colorado, but there's a lot of work in Colorado right now. I know because Excel, they got a big thing going on right now with their fire hardening, where they're trying to do a lot of pull change outs and do that kind of sort of thing, because we're coming into fire season right now, and they're trying to harden the system to mitigate fires from trees falling or power lines falling down and those sorts of things. But I know Colorado is a pretty busy state right now. So I would start with Mountain States. And then you can look at all these other apprenticeships. And I'll pop up a picture right here of the outside lineman apprenticeships in the country: Northwest, CalNav, Mountain States, SwoleCal, ABOUT. You can see all of these. You can literally simply search these up right on the internet, and it'll pop up first thing, and you can click and go on the website and you can learn all about it. And you can see if they have applications open for apprenticeships or not. And if they do, just apply for them. And just take the proper procedures, proper steps you need to for the application process. But yeah, start at Mountain States. I applied there actually, and I did an interview there. I didn't get ranked that good because I ended up showing late to my interview because I had the wrong address to where the interviews were being conducted. But I more so wanted to do it for the experience. I was young. I was 20 years old. So I was trying to get just experience with the whole application process, doing interviews and those kinds of things, just so I could know what to expect. And I was young, so I didn't have any experience or really any knowledge about how these things worked. So I'm just going to give you a step-by-step process right now. Step 1, I would go to IBW Local 111 in Denver. I'd go sign the out of work books list as a groundman. They might even have standing calls. I don't know. You can check their website by going to ibw111.org or .com. I'm not sure which one it is, but they have standing calls. You can check their out of works, the books, see how many people are on the books, and you can see if they have any standing calls, jobs posted on there. And then I would hop on to Mountain States Line Constructors Apprenticeship website and see when or if they have, I don't know when, if they do 2 or 3 applications open up with apprenticeships 2 or 3 times a year. I don't know what their thing is, but you can always call them up and ask them if they know or when the next applications are going to be open. Mark that on your calendar so when it does open, you can automatically apply. And I would do that with every apprenticeship. Also, if you do call them, ask them any questions that you have. So then that way you can just get as much knowledge as you can. Make sure you just take notes and just get as many details as you can, because every apprenticeship in the country is operated different. And now, if you're willing to travel, like you said, you're willing to travel anywhere, then I would apply anywhere that you can on the outside. But also, if you can, doesn't hurt to apply locally with like Excel Energy, which they're a massive utility in Colorado. There's other co-ops and smaller utilities there as well. Don't know where you live, but whoever you pay your power bill to. And obviously, if you do power line tree trim clearance, then you kind of know who to talk, what property you're working on and those sorts of things. So you can always apply and look for apprenticeship or groundman positions with your Excel or the local utility or co-op in your area, and call them up and see if they're going to have any sort of apprenticeships or groundman positions opening in the future or right now. But with your experience so far, having your Class C CDL, CPR certification, and your work as a line clearance trimmer for Asplin, that's great experience. Honestly, right now you have everything you really need to apply and become an apprentice lineman. I mean, you have the bare minimum, the bare basics. So I just say sign the out of work books at 111, and if you really want to travel, you can go other places. 611 in Albuquerque, New Mexico, for example. They usually have standing college because no one wants to go there and work. And just apply at Mountain States, Swolecat. Apply at every apprenticeship you can. Look online to see if Excel or any utility is bringing on apprentices. And you're just going to have to do some research for yourself on that. Make some phone calls. Get as many details as you can on when applications will be opened. Mark your calendar so then you'll be ready to go, and just gather as much information as you can and take the proper steps necessary once you get the information you need. So that's would be my advice for you. Oh, I guess it does say here you're 18 years old. My bad. Skipped right over that. So you're not 21 yet. So, and you are 18. So I'm going to assume you're either an apprentice or a groundman. If that's the case, that kind of switches things up a little bit. If you're an apprentice, complete the apprenticeship and become a journeyman tree trimmer before you even really apply, I would say, because then that looks good when you go to the interviews. They can see that you completed an apprenticeship already, you know how the apprenticeship works. If you're a groundman and you are 18, so I'm going to look for as many opportunities in Colorado as I can, because like I said, switching your CDL and stuff across state lines can be a pain in the butt. And a lot of places are looking for applicants who are already residents of the state that they're applying in. So yeah, sign the books at 111, apply for Mountain States when they open applications. Question number 2, coming from Andrew off TikTok. He asked me, hello, would you mind elaborating on the living situation during apprenticeship? I have a wife and kids and don't know what to expect. Thanks. So if you saw the previous episode of CTQ, I talked about this thing, and he's wanted me to elaborate more on the living situation during apprenticeship. So I'll break this down the best I can for you, Andrew, and for anyone else who's kind of wondering. Living situation, especially if you have a wife and kids. I know that if you have a wife and kids, that I know apprentices that have wife and kids, and depending on how many kids you have, if you have 1 or 2, a lot of them will do the travel trailer, truck and trailer, and they just find an RV spot and they close to wherever their show up or their yard's at, and they park it there and they pay the $500,000, however much it is to park your RV there, and you just stay there, do a month-to-month lease type deal, and that's the most common way. But if you got 2, 3, 4, 5, I don't know how many kids you have, and you're needing to travel with your family, I'm going to say your best bet's going to be an apartment. If you can find a month-to-month apartment lease, or even if you do 6 months, I think for the most part, they try to keep apprentices for 6 months at one location, 3 months, 6 months, but it all depends on where you're at and who your general foreman is and who you're working for. There's a lot of kind of determining factors like that, but finding an apartment month-to-month is a good option, or a house. If you have a big family, several kids, you need a little bit more real estate, a little bit more room, then you're probably going to need a house of sorts, and you're just going to have to pay the money. And when it comes down to it, apprentices, the first step, depending on the job you're on and where you're working, your wage can make anywhere from, $1,000 to $3,000 a week. All depends on the kind of work you're doing, if you're getting per diem, and there's a lot of those determining factors as well. So yeah, with a wife and kids, if you have 1 or 2 kids, travel trailer, fifth wheel, park at an RV spot. If you have 2 or more kids, probably apartment, or gonna have to just rent a house for if they do a 6 months on house, or if you could find a month place. Those are really your three options from my experience and from what I've seen other apprentices do. Living on the road with a family is truck and trailer, apartment, or just renting a house. So those are really your three options, Andrew. I don't really have much more on elaborating on the living situation during the apprenticeship. More than that, you I've also seen apprentices stay in one location for most of their apprenticeship. So getting an apartment or a house actually works out. If you're a good enough apprentice and you're working in a bigger city, let's say Denver or Phoenix or Minneapolis, it doesn't matter if you're in one of these bigger cities working there, and there's a lot of work and you're a good apprentice, you'll probably stay there for the most part, as long as you're getting hours and the things that you need. So, I mean, it makes sense to get an apartment, but sometimes if you're not the greatest apprentice, or work slows down, or the job ends and you get transferred, they'll tell you like, hey, Friday's your last day, and maybe you get transferred to a new place starting on Monday. So you have 2 days to figure out living situation, canceling your lease, and dealing with all those technicalities. But that's just part of the trade, and that's something you're going to have to accept and realize getting to the lineman apprenticeship, especially on the outside construction lineman apprenticeship. That's something you heavily have to consider if you want to become an apprentice lineman. Traveling is going to be part of it. Sometimes it's not really part of it, but I would expect it to be heavily part of it. All right, let's do question 3. This comes from Colby off TikTok. Colby says, hey man, I'm 14, looking to become a lineman. I was wondering if there's any classes or anything I can do to get a head start. Thanks and have a great day. Colby, you're wondering, if you go to the website at bluecollaredu.com, I have a tab of there's free learning. Go take all the free learning you want. It's 100% free. You just enroll in the course, and then it's on Teachable, and you log in and you can just complete the course. So there's a lot of free learning on there, and I would suggest go do that. If you go to the Lineman Career tab, I'll have a link in the description below. You can also go check out our information page on there, and I do have a course on there that you can buy if you want. It's $150. It's a 5.5, 6 hour course, in-depth, detail. It's going to teach you how to get started and then help you once you're an apprentice as well with the material, math, tools, and all those sorts of things to better prepare you. But besides that, if you're 14, 15, I would say once you're 16, I would go to your local utility and ask them if you can do a ride-along. Learn a little bit more. I know utilities will do ride-alongs for high school students. And in that way you can like co-experience on the job, see what they actually do on a day-to-day basis, which is great. So you can kind of get a better idea of like if the lineman trade is for you, if it's something you want to do. What else I would suggest is just YouTube. There's a lot of good information on YouTube, blogs on Google. I mean, this is the stuff that I did when I was graduating high school, was I used every resource I could. I used the internet, so YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and I asked people, I found groups and asked questions, and I watched videos, hours of videos. I just tried to connect with whoever I could to ask questions. So I used the internet to what I thought, to my advantage. And then, here I am now at 27 and a half, and I'm a journeyman lineman, became a journeyman lineman at 23 years old. So yeah, that's what I would suggest to you. Go on our website, learn more on there. Or if you have any questions, figure out your questions, ask them to me, and I'll try to answer them. Set up a phone call, something like that. I'll do those. But I'm trying to think of any classes to get a head start. And there's nothing that's coming off the top of my head. But I'll reach out to you on TikTok if something pops up. The whole reason I kind of created the platform and the website, the lineman career page on the website, is to help individuals like you to get a head start and learn more about the trade. The course specifically, I know it costs money, but I put a lot of hours and time into it, from not even the course, but also just working in the trade, becoming an apprentice, and now becoming a lineman and working in the trade for several years. A lot of blood, not a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, a lot of hard work, a little bit of blood actually. And so, yeah, that's what I would suggest to you, Colby. Just reach out like you did to me on TikTok. Ask questions too. There's a lot of lineman pages out there. Just DM, email, YouTube. There's a lot of resources out there. Just use the internet to your advantage and just learn as much as you can. Try to get familiar. Like I said, my best bet for you would be to go to your local utility and ask them if they do ride-alongs. And if you can do a ride-along, you probably won't be able to do it till you're 16, maybe even 18, to be honest. I'm not sure what those legal stipulations look like, but that's a really good thing that I wish I would have done when I was younger, to see like in the field, day-to-day operations as a lineman before I like really got into it. I knew that's what I wanted to do, but still, it'd be cool to see like on the job and what these guys do on a day-to-day basis. Those are 3 questions for you guys. Those are great questions. If you guys, like I said, want to ask your questions, go ahead and email them, preferably to austin@bluecollaredu.com. Ask them on TikTok, Instagram DM, or in the YouTube comments down below. And I'll take those. And like I said, I'll put them in my portfolio of questions. Hopefully you guys enjoyed those questions. Hopefully you guys learned 1 or 2 or 3 things from those questions, my experience. And with that being said, I'll catch you on episode 6 of CTQ.